Hopefully at this stage everyone is feeling progressively more comfortable using the native Rhino material editor in order to allocate finishes throughout a project. So you can allocate colours, transparency, reflectivity, and you've just got to the point in the last lesson of applying bitmaps in order to manipulate the finishes. So you've added a texture map in order to give a bump surface finish to the edges of the webcam, and you've added an environment map in order to give a sense of reflection to a surface. In this lesson, we're going to add some details to the logo type, which should bring us to a final stage with regards to using the native material editor. So to begin with, let's bring up our Layers Manager. The section that we're going to be working on during this lesson is the logo. So if you can just highlight that, right click, select objects, and we can just use the hide command to remove that from the screen, and then we'll dig underneath that command and swap it out so we can get that nice and large on screen. And the first thing that we're going to do is allocate the material to that layer via the Layer Manager. So we left click on the material column on the logo tab. There we go. And we've got the Layer Manager in place there. And we're going to look at a little bit more complex material this time. So previously we've allocated via the basic settings and we've imported textures. This time we're going to build a new material. So click on New. We can select basic materials from the list or from a library when you open up that menu. But today we're going to use the More Types tab to click on it, and you'll notice we've got a choice of basic, blended and composite materials. So to begin with, let's just have a look at the composite materials. We're not going to proceed on this, but I wanted to show you that we can mix up to 9 layers in order to get a very complex material. So we're just going to cancel that for the moment. And what we're going to use is, let's see, new material. Where are we? Click the New Materials tab, More Types again, and this time we're going to work with a blended material which just has the 2 channels. So the name of this material will be Logo Type. I'll just correct that spelling. There we go. And we're going to work with our first material now. There we go. Click to assign, left click. We just want a basic material, so click OK, and we're going to go down and apply a bitmap to that. So if you go to your reference files folder and left click on Sky Sample, you'll then have that portion embedded. It can be at 100%, which is fine, and as a new approach, we can also change the way we see that on screen. So if you right click on the preview at the top, we can bring that up as a cube. Move it around to position to get a different appreciation of what that looks like. Now we'll click OK. So we've got the first material. We'll just double click on that again just to bring that up. We'll change that to sky texture. There we go. Click OK so you can see the material 1 is our sky texture. Then we're going to provide a backing color to that in order to give it a material finish. So we're just going to click on that. Go with basic material, click OK, and we're just going to select under the color tab, and in this case we'll go with an RGB color, so it'll be 81, tab 88, tab 98. There we go, click OK. We'll set the gloss on that to 30. There we are. Click OK, and we now have a blending between these 2 colors. The mix amount for the moment we'll leave at 50 while we test it. Click OK. Make sure we've got our name right, so it's Logo Type. You can see if I pull the Layer Manager to one side, there's the material placed as the default on that layer, and we can just test render it now. So we're just going to select the render. I'll just move that down into position so you can see we have the approximation of a metallic finish on that logo type that's looking reasonably well, but it's a little bit too bright at this stage. We'll just stop the rendering and we're going to go and edit in that. So I've done that intentionally. So we left click on our screen. We've used New previously. We've used Duplicate. Now this time we're going to press the Edit tab, Edit, and we're going to increase the blend amount. So we're just going to move that up, and you'll see it getting darker on the screen. I'm just going to change that to a cube. We're just going to change that to a cube. You can see it there. It's dark enough. We'll make it a little bit darker at 80. That's great. Click OK. Click OK. And it'll be darker now when we do the test rendering. There we go, which gives us a little bit more of a metallic finish. Stop that rendering. Now the next thing we need to work with is the little logo type down here. So in order to do that, double click on the perspective view. We're going to make a duplicate of that item. So make sure your grid snap is off, but your ortho is on. So grid snap is off. Transform copy. Just go onto the front view, zoom in, click anywhere on the viewport and just drag it a minimal amount to one side. Excellent. So we're back on that front disc again. So we're just clicking on that in the front view. And this time I'm just going to drag that off screen. This time, I'm just going to pause that for a moment. We're just removing the layer manager from the side there. We've got it back out of shot again. We'll just check it's still there. Yep, that's fine. And now we're going to add a logo to the front of that disc. So we'll just zoom in there on that viewport there, and we're going to allocate that material via objects. So we go to the Properties tab. So we've opened up the Layer Manager. To the left of that, we've got the Properties tab. We click on the second one along, the little paint tube, and we're going to allocate that via Object. We're going to assign under the Color tab Textures a logo type. So the logo type that we're putting in, or correction, the logo that we're putting in there is logo A. Click Open. Okay, you can see it there on screen. Now you can see it's upside down. We may need to adjust that at some stage, but we're just going to double click on the logo tab, and currently the background is white. We'd like to filter that out. So in order to do that, you'll see the term transparent color there. Simply click that on. We're going to change the color to white. Okay, and you can see on the preview window there, it's white, but it's got a little bit of a crest around it. So we're just going to change that filter to 15. Okay, that's looking good. We'll click OK. That's fine. And check the name of our material. Okay, it is symbol logo. That will do fine. Now we'll just do a quick test render, see what it looks like. And as I pointed out before, it's upside down on the shot, so we're going to have to rotate it. Now, one of the best ways to do this, and there are various ways to do it, but since we have the Objects property box up on screen, what we'll do is simply go to Texture Mapping, so the third tab along, left click on that, and then the third tab along, Apply Surface Mapping. So we left click on that, simply scroll to the bottom, and you'll see the adjustments that we can make to the texture maps. In order to rotate that through space, we should just be able to click on the bottom one there, key in 180, and you'll notice on screen that texture map has now been adjusted. So we'll just click that off for a moment, double click just to confirm we have everything in place. There's the test render. It's looking reasonably good. We could do to take a little bit of that crowning out, but we'll leave it for the moment. Okay, so what we're going to do is just zoom out. There we go. Right click on the Hide tab to show all the objects in shot now. Do a quick test render just to see what it looks like. We're nearly there. There we go. And you can see we've now got the logo type. Now we'll be doing some tweaking to this, or we can obviously do some tweaking, but all of the base colors are in shot there. Now, one of the things I was going to illustrate at this point is that we do need to fine-tune these color finishes once we've moved to other rendering engines, but it's the speed of production at this stage which is the important thing. So to illustrate that point, I'm just going to go from, it's currently rendering in Flamingo, I'm going to switch that across to Rhino just quickly. It'll be faster still. I'll get that center shot, press the render tab, and you will notice the texture on the webcams here. So that's unacceptable. It looks fine on Flamingo, but on the Rhino tab, we've got some adjustments to make. So in order to illustrate that, we're just going to go quickly to our Layers Manager. We're going to scroll down to our CAMS body, double click on that. There's our material editor. So we can, the reason we do it this way is it allows us to make these changes very quickly. So I'm just going to switch off the bump map to illustrate that as a last element and render that out very quickly. And you can see we've got a significantly improved finish on those cams. So we can tweak these material finishes at a later stage. So there we go. We've allocated all of the materials via the Rhino editor, and we've done basic materials, we've done reflections, we've done transparency, we've allocated materials by match in both the layer editor and the object properties box, and we've done an introduction to working with bitmaps on a variety of finishes. Okay, see you in the next lesson.